So glad to have everyone here. I'm going to go right into it. We've been on a series throughout Oasis called New Year Greater Me. That's the series we've been on. And if you've been a part of that series in your particular group, you can, post your W's in the chat. Let me do a bit of Pastor G here. Let's see who's been participating in that series. And I believe you've learned a lot. I believe you've learned a lot. The whole series is about how do you make this year different than every other one before it, right? How do you go beyond a wish or a desire, a resolution, a New Year resolution? How do you go beyond that, to having a year that I can actually look back at the last year and say, wow, I'm a completely different person. I'm transformed, transfigured in so many levels. And I know that you've been getting blessed so far. That message, this message, New Year Greater Me, is split into three subtopics, three areas of importance if you're going to have a greater you. And I'm sure it's been shared with you by your pastor in your church, but if this is your first time hearing about it, the first one is if you're going to experience a greater you, you're going to have to build capacity. You're going to have to build capacity. And we talked about capacity being the ability of a thing to hold something and the ability to do something effectively. So we said that for you to build capacity, you're going to have to get new information. That's number one. Two, you're going to have to get instruction. That is, there's going to have to be some mentor, some person that's guiding you on your journey. And then three, we said you're going to have to take action. You're going to have to do things in the light of the capacity, the knowledge that you received, the instruction that you received. You're going to have to act. So that's all under building capacity. Then we talked about building trust. If you're going to have a greater you, you're going to have to build trust. You're going to have to build trust. You're going to have to build trust with people. You're going to have to build trust with God. Did you know that you had to build trust with God? Praise the Lord. And then number three, building confidence. So today I'm going to try to talk on building trust and building confidence because I believe, most of us in our different groups have dealt with the topic of building capacity. First question, when we talk about building trust, this is important to you having a greater you, right? What is trust? What does it mean? You can post in the chat section. I want to see some of your thoughts on this. What is trust? What does trust mean? How do you build trust? What is trust? Let's start there. Does anyone have any definitions? What do you think that trust is? Okay, Brahani says someone's confidence in you to make the right choice. I love that. Alicia gives a very interesting answer. She says trust is vulnerability. Interesting. Being dependable, being loyal. Praise God. Okay, I'm going to give you a few definitions as well. Everyone you've said has been correct, but you can take these down if you want to. These are just, regular dictionary definitions, so not something I pulled from the Bible. So number one, trust is firm belief in the reliability, the truth, or ability of someone or something. For instance, it says the reliability, the truth, or the ability of someone or something. Do you trust God? To trust God is to believe in his reliability, his truth, and his ability. Next definition that you can write down for yourself is trust is assured reliance on the character, the ability, the strength, or truth of someone or something. Assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. I'll take just one more definition, one more dictionary definition. He said, it is to believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you, or that something is safe and reliable. Think about that. To believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you, or that something is safe and reliable. So there's a lot of dependability here, like Miss Lisa said. There's a lot of reliability here. And In fact, Alicia's comment about vulnerability, it goes to where he says to believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you. So this trust is important. And it is important for when you're building a greater you, when you're going into a new season of life with greater qualities in life. These are things that you must be mindful of. These are things that you must be mindful of. Do people trust you? Are you trustworthy? Can you be trusted? So, I want to share with you a few thoughts on how to build trust. But in showing you how to build trust in these 3 points that I'll share about it, I want to read to you the story of, well, not his entire story, but I want to read you parts of the story of um, a character in the Bible called Joseph. And for those that were in Oasis Charm City with me on Wednesday, you're part of that. I shared part of this, but I want you to pay attention to some things about Joseph. I'll give a bit of a background because not everyone here may know who Joseph is. Joseph is one of the sons of um, Jacob or Israel, but his name changed from Jacob to Israel. There's a character in the Bible. God refers to himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Abraham gave birth to Isaac, Isaac gave birth to Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, from where we have Israel, the nation. So this Israel gives birth to 12 sons, and one of them appears to be his favorite by name Joseph. And Joseph was very peculiar in that not only did his father love him specially, but he also had dreams and he had a gift with dreams and the interpretation of dreams. So Joseph would have these dreams where he would see his entire family bowing down to him. You know, he would see his entire family bowing down to him. And he would tell his siblings, and they were always upset because he wasn't the oldest. There wasn't even anywhere in the top half of, the older siblings. So, I mean, who do you think you are? Type of thing. So Bible says that his brothers hated him. I want you to follow this, background story because I want to show you some things about building trust in the character of this person called Joseph. It says that his brothers hated him. They hated him so much that they actually wanted to kill him. They were ready to. But the oldest of them says he didn't want them to kill Joseph. So he had a plan to save Joseph. But he told them, hey, let's put him in a pit for now. We'll deal with him later. So this and that. But when he left, they sold. Can everyone still see me and hear me clearly? Okay, thank you. When he left, they sold Joseph into slavery. So they sold their brother into slavery. Watch this story now. Very important. Now, this guy is sold into slavery. You would expect for him to be bitter. You would expect for him to be angry. You would expect for him to be frustrated. But Bible says a different story concerning him. I want you to take a look at Joseph's life, his character, the things that set him apart as an individual. I think it'll be a blessing to you. Let's take a look at Genesis chapter 39. I'm going to read in the New Living Translation for your benefit. So I hope everyone is paying attention. It says, when Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelite traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was captain of the guard for Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Lord, look at what he says, the Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and realized, look at that. He wasn't bitter. He was excellent in his job, even though he was not supposed to be there. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar. So he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. You could see here that Potiphar was trusting Joseph. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about a thing except what kind of food to eat. Just look at that. Look at that level of trust. He says, Potiphar never had to worry about anything anymore. Imagine your boss hiring you. For those of you talking about your interest in career or, whatever, imagine your boss hiring you and never having to worry about anything except what they're going to have for lunch. Think about that. Think about that. Imagine, you've taken all the burdens off of this person. That's building trust. There's nobody that does this that will not continually be greater. Imagine, let's say you have a business that your customers can be sure that you will deliver the quality that you said you will deliver, and that you will deliver it in the timing that you said you deliver it. That they can go to sleep and know that come what may, what you've promised to do, you're going to do it. That's trust. Now, that's not even the part I wanted to show you in this story. Look at what it says. Joseph was this is a very interesting part. It says Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man. And Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. Come and sleep with me, she demanded. When you have a person like Joseph, such a person becomes attractive to people. And for some of them, it's in a negative way. But I want you to pay attention to what he says here. It says, but Joseph refused. Look, he told her. Now, notice what his comment was. His commentary wasn't about whether, the woman was beautiful or not. Clearly this man was a very senior officer, with theory. He probably had one of the most beautiful, wives or women that, for a wife that existed in all of the land. But look at what he says. That wasn't his commentary. He says, but Joseph refused. He says, look, he told her, my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God. He says she kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around when he went in to do his work. She came and grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, come on, sleep with me. Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand as he ran from the house. Now, the continuation of this story is she frames him because she has his cloak with her. She frames him and says that he attempted to rape her. He was put in jail. Sad turnout, right? Sad turnout. You may think. But he demonstrated the character of his spirit, being trustworthy. Being trustworthy. He expressed the kind of loyalty to the person that had given him authority, that had put him in the position that he was in. Do you know you can be in class and the professor relies on you to organize everyone else in the class because of the trustworthiness? Now, I don't want to go into all of the rest of the story, but I read that to you for a reason, because from there, Joseph finds himself in prison. While he was in prison, he has the same testimony as he had in Potiphar's house. Isn't that amazing? Let me read that to you from verse 19. It says, Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. Are you seeing this? The same testimony of him. It didn't matter that he was in Potiphar's house or he was in prison. It did not matter. The same testimony. Later on, the story goes, in the prison, he's interpreting dreams for people, and the dreams, the things that he's saying, they're accurate. And one of the guys that he interprets a dream for, he says, hey, you're going to get released. He says, don't forget me. That guy gets released and forgets him, finds his way into Pharaoh's palace. I hope you're still following the stories. Everyone's still here with me. So while he's in, Pharaoh's palace, Pharaoh has a dream and he doesn't understand the meaning of the dream. So this guy finally remembers Joseph and says, oh, there was a guy that helped me, interpret a dream while I was in prison. He can help you, Pharaoh. And Pharaoh says, okay, call this guy. So they call Joseph. Now Joseph meets with Pharaoh. And, such a consistency of character. I think if you ever want to understand trust, study Joseph. He goes in and he tells Pharaoh, oh, this is what your dream means. For the next 7 years, Egypt is going to have an abundance like never before. He said, but 7 years after that, he said, there will be famine and hunger and lack like has never been before, such that you will almost forget the next 7 years. And then Joseph says to Pharaoh, he says, here's what the king should do. He says, for the next 7 years, 20% of everything that comes in, because there will be an abundance, he says, store it up. He said, in the 7 years after, what you've stored up, in those 7 years, you will use for the 7 years of famine. He says, appoint someone to be in charge of this. I mean, just look at the heart of Joseph. He's ready to share what he has to say and just go back to prison and continue to be faithful in prison. Can you imagine that? And then when he's done, Pharaoh says, but who else can I put in charge of such a responsibility other than someone like you in whom the Spirit of God is? See, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, you're going to have your best year yet. You're going to have your best year yet. Because as you put these things to work, you will grow from grace to grace and from strength to strength. You will find your life ever being more beautified. I'm telling you. So Joseph appoints him Pharaoh appoints Joseph in charge of this responsibility. Let me read something very touching to you about this same Joseph. Now he's gone. He's been consistent. His character was consistent in Potiphar's house, consistent in prison. Never think that you're going to be this good person or this excellent person when you get your best job. No, start where you are. Start with the classes that you're in. Start with the work that you have with that professor. Start with the job that you have in the minute. Start with your house. Let your parents, even at home, see that you are now trustworthy. Let it begin at home. Let it be everywhere you are. It's about a consistency of character, trust. Let me read this to you. Do you want to hear this? Let me read this to you. I'm going to read Genesis 47. Just listen to the mindset of Joseph. And I'm only going to be able to talk about building trust today because I'm looking at the time. So I'll give you 3 points on how to build trust, and then we'll call it quits. But this story, when you get a chance in the week, go back and study it. Go back and study the story so you can have a deeper understanding of trust. Look at Genesis 47 from verse 13. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up. So everything he said happened. And people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan by selling grain to the people. Look at what it says. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan. And he put the money where? In Pharaoh's treasury. Just look at the excellence of character. Do you remember what he said about his boss? What he said about Potiphar when he was in Potiphar's house? How he was intent on not doing anything to harm Potiphar, to harm his boss? Look at the same mindset. He says he collects all the money in Egypt and Canaan and puts in Pharaoh's treasury. Oh, see, if you learn this, I'm telling you, this will change every aspect of your life. It says, when the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. Our money is gone, they cried, but please give us food or we will die before your very eyes. Joseph replied, since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock. So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkeys, Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, we cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate. So look at what it says. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for who? For Pharaoh. What a character. What a person. At no point does the Bible say that he was trying to see what he could get for himself. It says, all the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. What a character. And you know what was so important about this? All of that was actually for God. Read the full story. The greatest trust that he exhibited was not getting trust from the people, was getting trust from God. God was most important to him. Because at the end of the day, God could trust him to preserve the future of Israel. Yes, when you read the rest of the story, that's the beautiful part. God himself could now trust Joseph to be the one through whom he will preserve a posterity. Let me tell you something. You want God to trust you, but for God to trust you, the people that have charge over you, that you work with, that live with you, will have to trust you. Read the full story when you get a chance. And I'm here looking at the time. All right, 3 things to build trust. Number 1, your attitude in building trust. Your attitude includes your outward posture, your disposition, and your demeanor. Someone says, oh, people just think I have a bad attitude. It's just the way my face is. No, you can change the way your face is. Scott. Because there's an outward expression that indicates a good attitude. I mean, think about it. Why do we kneel to God in prayer? Other than the fact that we are expressing humility. We are demonstrating humility. Interestingly, in the Bible, it says, in the book of Proverbs, it talks about a proud look and how God doesn't like a proud look. Isn't it interesting that God isn't just unhappy with pride, he's unhappy with a proud look. So you may think, oh, I'm not proud inside, but do you have a proud look? Oh, it'll make it hard for people to trust you. Your attitude also includes your mental disposition about something, about anything. For as long as you feel like you're better than everyone else, you're better than everyone else. Oh, I shouldn't be here. I'm better than this. What makes you think that you're better than this? You're there. If you were better than it, you wouldn't be there. Said I shouldn't be doing this job. I'm better than this. Then why are you there? Of course, it's important to have a good self-esteem. That's very important. But the Bible says, it says to us that we shouldn't esteem ourselves as greater than others in particular. You can esteem yourself as very great, but when it comes to comparison with your brother, your sister in Christ, Humility, your mental attitude towards something. Why do you feel hurt that you were corrected about something? Why do you feel hurt that someone told you, oh, what you did was wrong? Why does it hurt you? Does it take away from who you are? Does it demean you? Absolutely not. Nobody can demean you. Nobody can demote you. Nobody can bring you down. No. You know who you are. And because you know who you are, you can respond with humility. Number two, apart from your attitude, your language. This is the use of your words. That is both your vocabulary and your phraseology. How you speak determines if people can trust you or not. The content of your communication determines if you can be trusted. Look at the content of Joseph's communication. Just look at how he spoke. How he spoke. The gracious words with which he spoke, even to Potiphar's wife, when she was doing something that was wrong. He didn't insult her. He didn't, call her names for what she was doing. He still spoke graciously. When he was in prison, he spoke graciously. When he was before Pharaoh, he spoke graciously. And, one of the most, let me just tell you, every time I read the story of Joseph's reunion with his brothers, go read it when you get a chance. I can't help but, like, every time I'm sobbing, like I'm literally crying, snot and all and everything. One of the most touching stories. How gracious he was in his words. Your words don't only locate you, they describe you. What are your words like when you're unhappy? What are your words like when you're happy? What are your words like when someone does you an injustice? What are your words like? Are your words going to continue to be gracious? Will your words still be edifying? Will your words be encouraging? One of the things that I enjoyed doing, when I was, in the corporate world. I've had bosses and, you know, at different times, I've noticed that, because of the pressure, my boss is stressed. And sometimes I'll just walk into the office and say to her, one of them in particular, I remember saying to her, I know that there's a lot of pressure right now, and this is, a lot. Let me know how I can be of help. I'm going to make sure that the part I'm responsible for, I do it to the best possible, and with the greatest speed that it could be done with. You can count on me for that. But if there's anything else that I can do to make this easier on you, do you know how important that language is in your life, in your communication with people, and even with God? Your language is important. Your language, simply saying something like that, will cause a great deal of trust from that person towards you. I know you felt, I remember there was a time my boss was so frustrated at me, she called a whole meeting. I mean, she was really, I messed up. I can't even lie. I messed up. I mean, I messed up big time. She called a whole meeting, you know. And somebody else would have been in that meeting and thinking, why did you have to call a whole board meeting, about me, right? They would have been there stewing and upset. But I was just listening to her, hearing her frustration and everything. And when all was, said and done, I'd gone to her and I said, I really feel like this situation hurt you a whole lot because of the trust that you have given to me. You didn't expect that of me. And I heard everything that you said, and it's not going to repeat itself again. What happened will not repeat itself again. I think that I own what I did. I took our relationship for granted. I took the work for granted. I didn't do what I was supposed to in the way that I should have. I'm sorry about it, and it will not happen again. Do you know something as simple as that? Saying that, automatically there's a great deal of trust that is bequeathed to you by that person. Then number three, faithfulness. This is the quality of being true to your words and your commitments. That the things that you say you're going to do, you do everything within your power to make them happen. I'm sure you've been blessed by those words today. Spend some time to pray and just talk to God. Because of all the people that you need to build trust with, it's God. Pray right now and talk to the Lord. Talk to Him. Ask Him to help you to build trust with Him. That in your attitude with Him, in your language with Him, in your faithfulness to Him, that you will build trust with Him, that He can trust you to do big things with you.